Hello, I'm I'm starting the web-based development session 4. In the first, second, and third session, we had discussed some core, concepts related with the web development, including the uh, client-server technologies, web services, website development, databases, and different tiers of the applications. Then SEO marketing strategies, social media. Apart from this, we had discussed server-side development tools like WAM, PHP, SQL, and also we discussed the web services in the form of service-oriented architecture. And the fourth session is about to review a web-based solution. So obviously, it's not whenever you develop any application, then at some point you need to review that how it is working and how it should be efficient. So the today's topic is based on the review of the technologies as well as the solution, and evaluating the web services once they are implemented, then reviewing the SEO practices and reviewing the web application developing methods, whatever the method you have used to implement the web-based solution, so how it is and whether it is effective or not. So I will start with the slide now. So review implemented technologies and their appropriateness to solve the business problem. So as you know that two types: client side environment, and another is the server side environment. So client side environment used to run the scripts, which is usually a browser. The server side environment that runs a scripting language on a web server. So we have already discussed about these concepts: the client side environment, server side environment, and how they are being developed, and which tools are used and what is their nature. So I will little bit go on the next topic. You can always review, you can recall the those concepts every time by looking at the previous lectures. Now, explaining the importance of layered architecture for web development. So layered architecture, if you look at the model, the layer of a client and server, what happens? The client as a browser, it is displayed on the client side. The server serves the client request remotely. So here we have to review that what are the advantages of a layered architecture. You remember that layers like front end, the middle end, and the back end. The front end could be the browser, it could be the mobile application, it could be the farm. The middle end can be the server, for example, any server like Apache server, Java server, and backend could be the database. So layered architecture increases flexibility, maintainability, and scalability. If you didn't have the layered architecture, then perhaps you would have difficulty in managing the business logic, storing the business formulas, business concerns separately. In a layered architecture, we separate the user interface from the business logic. For example, if you wanted to show the results of a company in a browser, and the browser could be it could be any report, it could be any form, but how the business report is generated, it is generated at the business logic layer, where some processing, some modules, some the logic behind the business, that how it should run, is stored, and the business logic from the data access logic. So again, the business logic itself is not stored within the database, but it is separated from the data. So that's why the layered approach increases the flexibility, maintainability, and scalability. So simple example, if you have a web server, then the database is stored separately using, for example, MySQL. The server itself can contain the business logic, and it serves the user output to the users in the form of browser content, in the HTML or any. It could be also the XML data, which can further be displayed into the users. So separation of concerns among these logical layers and components is easily and achieved with the help of layered architecture. Obviously, multiple applications can use the components. For example, if we want a Windows user interface rather than a web browser interface, this can be done in easy way and fast way. Like if your server is hosted, remotely, you don't want the the application or the the website in the form of browser, but you can still create your application in the form in the user interface, which will be connected through the internet. It would be a kind of internet, but everything would have been displayed into the Windows form. Like when you create when you are using a mobile application, it's not the browser. It works in the form of a kind of app, a kind of small, midlet or form. But it is the beautification of the layered approach which allows you to use the particular layer in different forms. So it's about the reviewing the implemented technologies, especially the importance of layered architecture in the web development. Like layered architecture enables teams to work on different parts of the web application parallel with minimal dependencies on other teams. So obviously it's clear that your database developers can work on the database independently, and the graphics designers can work independently on the outlook of the web page, and the internal or the middle tier developers, they are responsible to fetch the data from the database and provide the data to the user. So three types of the developers can work very well without any dependencies. So it's really the good option. Layered architecture enables develop loosely coupled system. There are two types of the systems, like loosely coupled systems and tightly coupled systems. Tightly coupled systems can have a form that they are developed using one technology, using one program, which cannot be used separately. While loosely coupled systems, they have a beautification, they have a flexibility to be coded and integrated without interacting or without the dependency of multiple program modules. So that's also the feature of using layered approach. Different components of the application can be independently deployed, maintained, and updated on different time schedules. Obviously, if you have a database, you can update it independently, no matter that it is connected with the web hosting or any web server. Layered architecture also makes it possible to configure different levels of security to different components deployed on different boxes. So layered architecture enables you to secure portions of applications behind the firewall and make their components accessible from the internet. For example, if your server needs to be secured, then the security could be applied on the server itself. If the database is being used, the database will have its own security. If you are using the web browser, then web browser, you can send your request through the web browser. You must have seen that when you type on the banking or any email, it says https://www. for example, hotmail.com. So the security on the browser side is enabled. HTTP is the hypertext transfer protocol, which is secure. So whichever the data, whichever the case, whichever the confidential data, for example, your passwords, your any email or any confidential data which you send from your home to the server of the email host, it is being sent securely. So the security is implemented on the client side. If your email server is hosted somewhere, then itself it is secure, nobody can hack them. And if the email server is using the database, then the database itself is being secured. So in this way, the security can be applied on each level. Layered architecture also helps you to test the components independent of each other. Obviously, yes, if your database is ready, then it could be tested separately. If your web browser application is being developed, for example, its web interface, then it doesn't need to be connected with the database, but it could be designed independently. Now, evaluating web services, mapping web services to user needs, role of web services in web application development. So basically, last time when I discussed the service-oriented architecture, then I discussed the UDDI, the registry, the user, and the web service provider. They normally use a triangle of communication using SOAP protocol, Simple Object Access Protocol. They use the WSDL, Web Service Description Language, and they use the UDDI to store their services. You can recall always that concept from the previous lecture. Now the question arises that why web service? Web services are the next generation of the web. When you want different websites to be integrated into one, or for example, if you wanted to book the one flight, book one hotel, and book a car, so possibly you needed to go through all three sites. But if you wanted one in one go, then a web service can book these three services into one. So how they can integrate with each other? For example, if you might have seen different websites nowadays, like a cheap flights, cheap hotels, they don't store the data of their services, but they again contact the web service providers on our behalf. So how is it possible? Their structure is implemented using the web services. They use the same protocol, Simple Object Access Protocol, to be communicated. So once you created a service, a web service which integrates different web services, then after the integration, and obviously there's implementation behind, you could implement the web services in different tools. So here you have to evaluate. If you have to evaluate, then you have to understand the how efficient is the web service. So maybe this topic is a little bit advanced, but you could go and start with implementing the web service, understanding the web service, and then then come to the evaluation of the web service. And the document that I have selected here for your understanding, maybe, for example, I downloaded this document for you, but I didn't save this, so it's saying that download limit exceeded. So let me think about it, that how I can show you. Okay, what I do, I will upload this document on the Moodle about the web service review, web service efficiency. So the efficiency would include how the web service is reliable, how the web service is accessible, how the web service is usable, how the web service is, economical. So all aspects of the web services could be discussed, that like a quality of service, like efficiency, and the terms which are not technical, but by using the web services, how do you assume that they are good for you? So I move forward towards the another topic, and I will upload on the Moodle about the quality of service. And you are also advised to search the topic on quality of service on the internet, and you will get a lots of stuff and uh, articles, many more things to understand this. Now, reviewing SEO practices, success criteria for SEO techniques, accessing the SEO practices and their suitability for specific web applications. So, SEO, you implemented, you tried to search engine optimize the your website, and obviously previously we discussed the SEO strategies, that how you could access and how you could implement the optimization so that your website should be search engine friendly. So in reference to those techniques used, obviously you need to review your website, and always you can review the your website, whatever you have, and you can make it better to be search engine friendly. I that One second. The source to discuss or understand this review process of website can be based on different factors, but they can vary from person to person and from time to time. At the moment, it's a very vast topic, but we can always understanding by looking at different articles on the internet that how they can be assessed. Like in this link, you can quickly uh, download or save this article in your computer, and so that this may not be removed quickly by the website. So for example, the concerns in this article the author has given, the search engine share for referring visits. He's more concerned about that, how the your visits are referred. Then search engine referrals, how the search engine is referred into the different websites. Visits referred by specific search engine terms and phrases, how the your website is referenced using different keywords. Conversion rate by search query term phrases, how your website is being searched. Number of pages receiving at least one visit from each search engine, how many number of pages of your website is being viewed by the users. And so if there are different contexts, you can always do this research of search engine optimization, and by looking at that, how do you review. And one more another option, for example, if you go to the Google and say analyze SEO online. If you go to the analyze SEO online, you will find different uh, websites. You will just need to put the website URL. For example, if we say www.ukversityonline.com, 9192. They are, this is the captcha, so that their website could not be used by any robots, or it could not be given a too much load through the hackers. So if we wanted to SEO the website, of ukversityonline.co.uk, then let's see that how it can allow you to understand that what the position of ukversityonline.co.uk is. So that is working on this, and you will be surprised and to see the results, that how efficient the site is and how that can be improved. So let's wait for a while. Okay, so you can have a look that status is okay. Page size content is given here. Total test, so pass 27, warnings 3 errors. Total score is SEO 62 out of 100. Speed score this, and the green things are a good symbols, keywords and other things. Maybe a warning, some heading text are being used, and many more things. If you would have typed like a google.co.uk or bbc.co.uk, and then let's see what happens. Obviously, the more the site is old and it has been improved from time to time, you will be getting much more good SEO standing. Okay, so maybe I need to run again. For example, site analyzer. I am using the another tool. So there are lots of site analyzers, and I'm going through this page analysis. So this has given another form of score, like BBC has a 70 score out of 100, 4 critical, 15 warnings, 33 success, and you can see that how it is implemented, what improvements it needs, which there are certain errors into the pages, and many more things you can observe. So you can always go through the different techniques from time to time, that how the search engines implement their strategies and how they are user friendly. Next is reflection. The topics include reflection of the web service, web application development methods, web application deployment, web application maintenance, skills for web application development. So we review over here like web application development are either from scratch or building upon something built before, which means the developer can either start a project from scratch or continue and update it to update the project. So obviously, you can create a new one or you can improve. Really depends. The in this course, we assume that we are basically using the or we are supposed to implement the web application using some web server, PHP, and MySQL. So in my previous lecture, I had given you a demo of installing a web server, and there are lots of tutorials available on the YouTube that you can implement, and you can test your web service implementation, sorry, the web development implementation using those servers. Also, you are also supposed to implement or try the web service implementation framework. And it's continued here. Some introductory basic things are discussed here. You can read it one by one. And skills, the next topic is skills for web development applications. They might include the markup languages. It's not only the HTML, but XHTML, CSS. The markup languages are most important for you. Client-side scripting, which includes the JavaScript. Browsers, you should be aware of the which type of browsers do you use: Firefox, Opera, Internet Explorer, Safari, the Google Chrome. Apart from this, development tools like IDEs, integrated development environments, editors like Dreamweaver, Microsoft Front Page, Visual Studio, Eclipse, and these terms and the development tools you should also be aware with. Web servers, Apache Internet Information Server, or WAMP, like a Windows Apache Web Server, the Linux Apache Server, and many more. And server-side languages, you should be able to understand PHP, ASP.NET, Ruby, and Java, C#, and localhost. You can always implement WAMP, XAMPP, or and the Linux servers. So obviously there is a variety of servers. So the review, the learning outcome 4 is almost discussed, but obviously this review is only fruitful for you when you really implement according to the previous sections, at least the usage of the server, implementation of the web service, and applying or starting your SEO strategies from the scratch and trying to improve the SEO strategies, and then see how do you stand in the knowledge of web development from starting from the HTML and going through the development of the good web design using the multiple layers, like creating your web design, web interface, then middle tier, then creating the database, creating the interaction between the layers. And always you can start with like a shopping cart example. The shopping cart, how the shopping cart example is created in PHP. Most of the books, they start to teach that the first dynamic application using using any dynamic programming, and then once you implement it, you can always test it, you can always review it, and you can integrate the multimedia into the existing web solution. And then after implementing the solution, you can review it, you can review the web based solution that has been designed, you can review according to the SEO, and you can review the tools and technologies. So I'm going to finish end this session now, and the web development the unit itself is complete now. We will start with the next session from the next unit in the next session. Okay, thank you, bye.